Let's look at the set which is about Prabhu's taxi services. Kasta, a small industrial town, hosted a steel plant and its associated ancillary companies. Most of its residents were steel plant employees from different states of the country. While the town offered employment opportunities, it lacked an airport. All right. For those wanting to fly, the nearest airport was Mishalganj, 100 kilometers from Kasta. To reach the airport, people rented taxi services available at Kasta, and Prabhu was one such taxi provider. All right, so it sort of introduces to us Kasta, which is, it says that it's a small industrial town. That's like the town's feature. It hosts a steel plant and its ancillary companies. It says most of its residents were steel plant employees from different states of the country. Okay, and the good thing about the town was it offers employment opportunities, but it lacked an airport. And this becomes important. You can connect the dots. If these people are from different states of the country, they won't want to travel home often. So the airport is important. For those wanting to fly, the nearest airport was in Mishalganj, which was 100 kilometers from Kasta, right? And that's quite a distance. To reach the airport, people rented taxi services available at Kasta, and Prabhu was one such taxi provider. All right. Okay. So we'll make a mental note of the important details. Let's move on. Prabhu's rates were reasonable. That's good. A trip to airport cost rupees 2200, but for a round trip, the fare was rupees 3000, and these rates are reasonable according to the set. Yet, it was not just affordability that made him popular. His reputation for punctuality and reliability was unmatched. Okay, interesting. This is good to know, and it can be an important point. So it's not just affordability that was attracting customers to him. It was also his reputation for punctuality and reliability, and the set says that this was unmatched. Right? When it came to ensuring the safety of women traveling alone, he would always be the first choice, which is also important. So he's known for his punctuality, he's known for his reliability, okay, and he's also the first choice when it comes to solo women travelers. Such was his trustworthiness that even the steel plant would solicit his services when expecting solo female visitors. So trustworthiness was very high. Moreover, whenever residents encountered issues with their personal cars, they would turn to Prabhu for help. So great. So Prabhu was clearly, he was very popular, okay. And, his rates were reasonable, but more than that, his punctuality and reliability, he was very, very well known for it. So he was the topmost, as was very most punctual and most reliable, because clearly says was unmatched. And also he was the first choice for ensuring the safety of women. So these were his USPs, right? The USPs of Prabhu's taxi services were his punctuality, reliability, and his trustworthiness, especially when it came to women traveling alone. However, the world shifted when the COVID-19 pandemic struck. Travel restrictions and safety concerns limited Prabhu's trips to Mishalganj for over a year and a half, and that makes sense. Everything was closed down, right? So nobody was traveling, or very few people were traveling, so it affected his business. Financial strain followed with accumulating interest on his home loan. He was weighed down by debt, but things improved once COVID-19 travel restrictions were lifted, which is good. Having faced financial hardships during COVID-19, he sought to offset his losses by raising the fare. Okay, so COVID-19 was a difficult time for Prabhu, obviously, right? He was into the taxi business, which pretty much shut down, right? And he faced financial hardships. The good thing was that his business started picking up once the restrictions were lifted, but he had to offset his losses that he incurred during COVID, and he planned to increase his fare to offset those losses because he went into debt and all of that. Yet he was aware of the stiff competition in town. Okay, so he had to sort of keep that in mind, where many others offered services at a similar fare as his. Okay, this is an important point. So his competitors are offering services, taxi services at a similar fare as his. So his USP is not really his fare. Okay, his USP is his reliability and punctuality and the trustworthiness. Okay, those are his USPs. But now he's thinking about raising his fare. But he's in a dilemma, because if he raises his fare and his competitors, that means his competitors will be offering at a lower fare, and that can take away a chunk of his business, because obviously customers are price conscious. All right, we'll keep these things in mind. Let's move on. Prabhu decided to increase the taxi fare for all future trips. He planned to charge rupees 3000 for a one-way trip to the airport and rupees 1000 more for a round trip. Okay, so we know that he's planning to increase his taxi fare. Okay, and he's planning to charge 3000 for a one-way trip and 1000 for a round trip. So quickly here, we'll just look at what were his existing fares. His existing fares were 2200 for a trip to airport, one-way trip, and a round trip was 3,000. So that 2,200 is going up to 3,000, and that 3,000 is going up to 4,000 because it says 1,000 more for a round trip. So this is quite a bit of increase. I mean, it's a significant increase in his fares. It's not a small increase. Excuse me. Which of the following facts will best help Prabhu's regular customers in accepting the increase in fare? Read the question very carefully. Will best help Prabhu's regular customers, that means his customers, the ones that use his services regularly, in accepting the increase in fare. Okay, so think about now again, put yourself in the customer's shoes, in a regular customer's shoes of Prabhu, right? What fact, as a customer, as a regular customer of Prabhu, if you're provided with a fact, which fact would help you in accepting this increase in fare? Prabhu has increased his fare. It's a significant increase, right? So what fact would help his regular customers to accept this fare? That's what the question is asking. So always with these questions, take a pause for a few seconds, understand the question very clearly, articulate it in your head, rephrase it if required, get a complete understanding of the question before you go to the options. Now, number one, because Prabhu offers repair services to residents' car-related issues. All right, that's also given in the set. Now, if you are a customer, a regular customer of Prabhu, and he's increasing his fare, significantly increasing his fare, just because he offers repair services to your car-related issues, you won't accept his fare. You're like, okay, my repair services are there, right? But that's different. This is taxi fare, and you're significantly increasing the fare. So the customers will still have a problem. This is not incentive enough for the customers to accept a significant increase in fare. Because Prabhu is punctual and reliable. Interesting. Now, this is Prabhu's USP. This is his business's USP, that he is very punctual and reliable and also trustworthy. We're not considering that, but he's punctual and reliable, and it says it's unmatched. That means his competitors, as compared to his competitors, he's way more punctual and reliable. All right. And what is Prabhu? See, Prabhu is worried about the competition, because if he increases his fare, the competitors will be providing services at a lower fare, and the customers would also know that. But then in this case, if the customers know that he's punctual and reliable, that can encourage them to accept the increase in fare. Remember, it's a drive to the airport. Okay, they're traveling to the airport. That's what the whole set is based on, right? These are rides to the airport. And for rides to the airport, punctuality and reliability are extremely important. I mean, think about it. I'm sure many of you have been in that situation, right? Waiting for an Uber cab, Ola cab, and it cancels at the last minute. And if you have a flight or a train to catch, that's panic mode. Okay, so this can be a good reason for the customers to accept the increase in fare. So we'll park it. Because Prabhu serves many top officials of the steel plant. Again, remember, they're asking about regular customers. Why would regular customers care about this? Just because Prabhu serves many top officials of the steel plant, we'll accept the increase in fare. You won't. As a customer, think about it. You won't. This is not a concrete reason to accept the increase in fare. Because the cost of living has gone up in Kasta. Again, if you put yourself, and this is important in DM, put yourself in the protagonist, the question's protagonist. There will always, usually there's a protagonist in the question, right? You have to think from their angle. Put yourself in their shoes. Think as a customer. Just because the cost of living has gone up for Kasta, will the customer be so understandable saying that, oh, just because the cost of living has gone up, I'm going to accept the significant increase in fare? No customer will. Customers are not that understanding. Okay, none of us are that understanding. Because Prabhu is facing financial hardships, again the same thing. I mean, do we have that empathy? Do we have that level of empathy as customers? Do we think like that, oh, just because that person is facing financial hardships, I'll accept the increase in fare? Maybe less than 0.5% of us think like that. Customers don't think like that, right? So that's why this is not a concrete reason. The only reason, the fact that would help regular customers in accepting the increase in fare is because Prabhu is punctual and reliable, and that is his USP, right? So remember, it's important to catch that detail when they say that it's unmatched, right? So that's clearly his USP. Let's move on. Let's go to question 2. After Prabhu increased his charges by 30%, okay, wow, so he did increase his charges by 30%, the revenue flow was promising in the beginning. Okay, very good. So, awesome, he increased it, but still the revenue flow was great, was promising, especially from the steel plant's official trips. Okay, so he catered to both, right? He catered to the steel plant's officials and also people outside the steel plant which were hiring his taxi services on a personal level. After a few months, he noticed a dip in private bookings. Okay. So this implies that the steel plant's official trips were fine, but the private bookings, right, he noticed a dip, and that could be due to the increase in fare. On exploring further, Prabhu realized that while women traveling solo still preferred Prabhu's service, some of his regular customers were choosing his competitors when traveling as a family. Some of his regular customers. Now that's a problem. Regular customers of your business are shifting away, okay, to somebody else, to a competitor when traveling as a family, and this year the implication is clear. It's because of the 30% increase in fare. However, he knew that his competitors, while charging lower than him, were still tardy and sometimes cancelled at the last minute. So the competitors tardy means lateness, right? They were not punctual, right? Tardiness is when you're late, you're tardy. So they were still tardy. That means punctuality and reliability was an issue because they're cancelling at the last minute. So remember, Prabhu's USP is reliability and punctuality. The competitors had a problem with this. For Prabhu, this was a plus. For Prabhu, this was his USP. This is his USP. Okay. So, all right. So there is a problem. Now you have to understand this. Every set presents a problem statement, right? The problem statement in this set is that Prabhu's regular customers are have moved away to some of his competitors because of the 30% increase in rate. All right. When they're traveling as a family, in that situation, they prefer his competitors. That has impacted his revenue flow. Okay. The thing to keep in mind is that Prabhu's aware that his competitors are charging lower than him, but reliability and punctuality is a problem with them, and Prabhu doesn't have that issue. Okay. Also to keep in mind is that the steel plant's official trips are fine. The dip is in the private bookings. Keep these things in mind. If you want, you can make a quick note of it also in your notepad. Which of the following options will best help Prabhu to retain his revenue flow? Understand the question very well. They're asking us which of the options will best help Prabhu to retain the revenue flow. He increased the price. The revenue flow was promising in the beginning, but then it dipped. It went down due to private bookings. Okay? Because his regular customers are going to his competitors. So the revenue flow has been impacted. We have to figure out an option that will best help Prabhu to retain his revenue flow. That means this dip has to be taken care of. Right? Whatever the dip is, we have to take care of it so that it comes back to the beginning part, the level in the beginning where the revenue flow was promising. Okay? Great. Let's evaluate this. Number one, charge a premium for the steel plant's official trips. Now, before you evaluate this option, remember the steel plant is doing well. For Prabhu's business, the steel plant's official trips are fine. Even after the increase, okay, it's fine. The revenue flow is promising mainly because of that. So the steel plant's official trips have not been impacted due to the 30% increase in fare. Now we're trying to address the dip in revenue that's coming from private bookings. We can address it in different ways. And one way of addressing the dip in revenue is to charge a premium for steel plant's official trips. But think about this. See, if you charge a premium and let's say everything goes well, the dip will be taken care of, right? Because you're charging more to the steel plant's official trips, which are already doing well. But what are the chances of the steel plant being okay with it? Prabhu has already raised the fare by 30%. The steel plant official trips are fine. They are okay with this increase because they prefer Prabhu for various reasons. But now, upon 30%, if you charge them a further premium, are they going to be okay with it? Very unlikely. You've increased it by 30%. And in a small time gap, you're thinking of charging a premium. So you're thinking of raising the fare further. The steel plant can be in two minds about that increase. It's quite likely that the steel plant would not be okay with it. So is this the best option to help retain his revenue flow? No, there's a big risk here that he would lose that steel plant's business. So therefore, this is not the answer. All right, let's look at 2. Stick to his current increased charges. All right. Now, this option is saying stick to his current increased charges. That means do nothing, right? The charges have been increased, stick to it. But we're not really doing anything here. Okay, and will this help retain his revenue flow? He has a problem, right? The problem is that when he increased the the fare by 30%, he noticed a dip in private bookings. Okay, so if he sticks to his current increased charges, does that solve the problem? Okay, unlikely. Okay, so let's see. We're not really sure of two. We'll look at three. Give 50% discount for personal trips. Okay, so personal trips is great because the private bookings have been he's seen a dip there. But giving a 50% discount, his objective is to address the dip in revenue. That means increase in revenue. 50% discount is massive. What will happen is you've raised it by 30% and now you're cutting it by half. That means you're lowering the rate even below the original rate before the increase. This is a very big discount. And by giving a discount for personal trips, if your objective is to increase your revenue, this doesn't really make sense. Had the discount been lower, we could have considered it. But cutting the price by half and going below the original price is not going to help you with the revenue flow. Okay, so no, this can't be the answer. Revert the price of services to its prior rate. All right. Now, if he reverts it to its prior rate, first of all, this option says revert the pricing of services to its prior rate. Pricing of services for everything, that's implied. It doesn't say revert the pricing of services for personal trips to its prior rate. That means we are reverting it to the prior rate for both official and personal. How will this help you maintain the revenue flow? Right? By increasing, when Prabhu increased it by 30%, the official trips were fine. If you revert the pricing of services, all the services to prior rate, how will it help you with the revenue flow? It's not clear whether they're saying private or official. We're going to assume that it's for everything. This doesn't make sense. This will not help with revenue. Okay. Charge a premium when women travel solo. Okay. Now, the question clearly says that while women traveling solo still preferred Prabhu's service, women were okay with it. Okay, women were okay with the premium being charged. Sorry, with the increase. I apologize. With the 30% increase, women were okay with that because women trusted Prabhu. Prabhu's trustworthiness was high. But now again, you're saying charge a premium when women travel solo. So women are okay with the increased rate. Now you're further charging a premium. It's similar to one. In case of one, the steel plant was okay with it. 30% is a significant increase. You're increasing it further. Here also women are okay with it. You're increasing it further. Are women going to be okay with it? Is any customer going to be okay with it? No, any customer is bound to have a dilemma here, right? They've already accepted a steep increase and now you're further charging a premium. So that they won't be okay, right? This is an extremely tricky question, okay? If you want my honest opinion, I think it's one of those BDM questions where it's best left unattempted because it's very difficult to figure out the right answer in this one. Okay, and I don't have the statistics, but I guess like most students, many students might have left it. Okay, if their question selection is good, or if you attempted it, the chance of going wrong are very high in this case. It's an extremely tricky question because the answer here is 2. Okay, and this is indeed the best answer, but extremely tricky to figure this out because 2 says stick to his current increased charges. That means the option is saying maintain status quo, don't change anything. Right? And it's difficult to accept this answer because it says we're not doing anything. We want to help Prabhu retain his revenue flow, but we're going to do that by retaining the current increased charges. So you're not taking any action. But in this situation, it does make sense. Or out of the 5 options, this is indeed the best option. Let's try to understand why. See, the problem here is that some of his customers, regular customers, are choosing his competitors. His official steel plant's official trips are absolutely fine. Women are still preferring Prabhu because of the trustworthiness, but some of his regular customers, which implies that a small portion of his regular customers are choosing his competitors because he has increased the price. And also an important detail in the set is that the competitors are still tardy. They still have reliability and punctuality issues, and Prabhu is doing great. He has maintained his USP. So the thing here is, customers, think about this, his regular customers are used to his level of service, his high level of service. Now these customers have moved on to competitors because he's increased his price. Going there and when they realize the competitors are not reliable and punctual and they have issues reaching the airport on time or potentially miss a flight, they will come back to Prabhu. Right? Understand that. This is also customer behavior. Once a customer gets used to a high level of service, Suddenly, when they go to a competitor which is providing a low level of service, the customer is going to have issues accepting that or getting used to that. And also, this is airport, right? Reliability and punctuality are extremely important. Nobody wants to miss a flight, especially when you're traveling as a family. Imagine you're a family of 4 and you miss a flight. What the loss that you'll have in terms of losing your air ticket fare. So the hope here is there's a small set of customers. Some of his customers have moved, and when they notice those reliability and punctuality issues, they'll eventually come back home, come back to Prabhu. So sticking to his current increased charges, indeed, out of the 5 options, is the best way he can retain his revenue flow. All right. Very, very tricky question. Okay, as I said before, it's best left. So question selection is obviously paramount. Don't take unnecessary risks with BDM questions. But 2 is indeed the answer, because if you look at 1 and 5, charging a premium beyond the 30% increase is not feasible. Okay, 50% discount is too much. You're cutting the prices by half. It will not help in revenue. Reverting the prices of services to its prior rate for official when it's doing well doesn't make sense. All right. So here, both increasing the prices doesn't make sense, premium, because we've already increased it by 30%, and reverting or giving a massive discount also doesn't help with revenue. So the best situation here out of the 5 is indeed to stick to your current increased charges. Okay. Very, very tough question. All right. Okay. Let's look at question 3. Saroj, the new chief financial officer at the steel plant, used the service of Manoj when he first traveled from the Mishelganj airport to the plant. Now, Manoj is a new person that has come in here, right? And the Saroj is the new CFO. And he used the services of Manoj when he first traveled from Mishelganj airport to a plant. Manoj was a rival of Prabhu, okay, in the taxi service business in Kasta. Manoj, upon learning that Saroj would be responsible for hiring taxi services for the steel plant, charged Saroj only rupees 1500 for that trip. So he charged a much lower rate than usual, because obviously he was trying to get into Saroj's good books so that Saroj can give the business to Manoj. Further, he assured Saroj to charge the same for one-way trip and an additional rupees 500 for a round trip to the airport. So Manoj offered a steep discount to Saroj, not only for Saroj's personal trip, but also for the official trips in future. And obviously Manoj was doing this to get the business. Upon realizing that the plant utilized Prabhu's services for all the official trips to the airport, Saroj contacted Prabhu to discuss the rates offered by Manoj and inquired why the plant should continue using his service when Manoj provided the same at a lower price. Remember, Saroj is new. That's why it's important to read the set. New, so Saroj, of course, later came to know that Prabhu is the current taxi provider and Prabhu's rates are high. So set up a meeting with Prabhu to discuss the rates offered by Manoj and basically ask Prabhu that Manoj is offering us lower rates, so why should we continue with you? Prabhu realized that Manoj charged an extremely low price just to push Prabhu out of his business in the steel plant. Obviously, Manoj is a competitor, right? Manoj is trying to push Prabhu and take away that account from Prabhu so that, Manoj can get additional business. And when that meeting was called, Prabhu realized this, that the extremely low price was a bait, right? So that Prabhu can be pushed out of his business in the steel plant. So clearly Prabhu has a problem here. Which of the following reasons given by Prabhu will best help his cause? Now again, put yourself in Prabhu's shoes. Your job is to convince Saroj, the new CFO, to retain Prabhu as the taxi provider for the steel plant. So what reasons can you give? Which reason can you give as Prabhu to best help this cause? The cause is to convince Saroj. Articulate that in your head. Excuse me. The case that you're trying to build is retain me as the service provider. I'm the best option for you. But what can you tell Saroj to convince them to retain you as the taxi provider? All right. Number 1. Prabhu should tell Saroj that Manoj is unreliable and tardy and women are unsafe with him. Okay. Now, this is a serious allegation. All right. Unreliable and tardy might be true. Might be true because we know from the set, not from in the question, but if you go in the set, it clearly says his punctuality and reliability is unmatched. So unreliable and tardy could be true, but saying that women are unsafe with him, right? We don't have evidence for this, right? We don't have concrete evidence. So Prabhu telling Saroj that, right? First of all, we don't know whether it's true or not. It's a serious allegation. And second, Think about Saroj. Will Saroj get convinced by this? Saroj will think that Prabhu is saying this just to retain his business, right? Because now Manoj is offering low prices, so Prabhu is simply playing a trick just to retain his business and saying that women are unsafe with him. Saroj will not get, this is Prabhu's word, and Saroj doesn't know Prabhu here, okay? Saroj is new. So what are the chances that Saroj will get convinced? And also if you think about ethics, it's not ethical for Prabhu to suddenly go and make this allegation without any evidence that women are unsafe with Manoj, right? That's why this option is out. Prabhu should warn Saroj that Manoj's offer is not sustainable. Okay. Saroj is a CFO, is the new CFO. You're telling them that Manoj's offer is not sustainable. So basically, Prabhu is implying that, okay, Manoj is giving you low prices right now, okay, but this is not sustainable. Eventually, he'll hike the prices, okay. Now, Saroj is a CFO. You're talking to a finance head and you're giving them this rationale. And also the word warn, right? It's a very strong word here. Can you go and warn a client, and that to the CFO in the company, saying that I'm warning you that Manoj's offer is not unsustainable? The language is also inappropriate there. But also think about it. Even if, first of all, Saroj is not going to get convinced by this, and even if that's the case, the short term that Saroj is getting with Manoj at low prices, they can accept that. If Manoj raises their prices, Saroj can go look for another vendor. All right. What Prabhu is saying is not sustainable in the future. But even if for 6 months, let's say, hypothetically speaking, even for 6 months, Saroj can get a lower price, that's good for them, right? So this is not a convincing reason that Prabhu can give to help his cause. And also the warn word is weird when you're talking to a client, especially a CFO. Prabhu should request Saroj to talk to a few of his colleagues before taking any decision. All right. Now remember, Prabhu's USP is reliability, punctuality, and trustworthiness. Saroj is obviously new. Saroj doesn't know about this. So if Prabhu tells Saroj to talk to a few of his colleagues and get feedback about Prabhu, that's a good option. Right? I mean, see, if Saroj goes and talks to a few of his colleagues, these are Saroj's colleagues. And the colleagues say, listen, fine, the rates are higher and Manoj is giving you a lower rate, but Prabhu is known for punctuality, reliability, and trustworthiness. The chances of Saroj being convinced by his own colleagues are higher, right? And Saroj is new, so getting that feedback would be good for Saroj as well. This is a good option. Let's park it. Prabhu should offer to lower his price to the one offered by Manoj exclusively for the steel plant. Okay, very attractive option, right? This is like Prabhu giving in and saying that, okay, Manoj has lowered the price, I'll also lower my price. But remember in the set, it clearly says, and it's important to connect questions to relevant details in the set. See, here it said in the last part that he has faced financial hardships due to COVID-19. He's looking to offset his losses by raising the fare. Okay, he's in a lot of debt. So how feasible is this? Think about it. Okay, like lowering the price to the one offered by Manoj. How feasible is this for Prabhu? It might help his cause, right? In the sense that Saroj can get convinced. But given the context that we have from the set, this is not a feasible option for Prabhu. Right? And also if you get into a price war like that, you lower the price, you get the business. Manoj can lower the price further. Somebody else can lower the price further. So it's not a sustainable way to address this. So this is out. Prabhu should introduce Saroj to Miss Nidhi Davde, his regular customer. This is also for feedback. Understand, 3 and 5 are both for feedback. The colleagues will give feedback to Saroj. Miss Nidhi Davde will also give feedback to Saroj. Which is stronger? Obviously 3 is stronger. Number 1, you have multiple colleagues giving feedback. And these are people known to Saroj. Miss Nidhi Davde is a stranger, and not to just one person. So obviously 3 is stronger. So hence 3 is the answer here. Okay. I think in this set, out of the 3 questions, question 2 is extremely tricky. Best left unattempted for most students. 1 and 3 are manageable. So 6 out of 9 if you do the due diligence, read the questions carefully. And if you have practiced enough, 6 out of 9 is possible. Right?